My name is Malina, and today Karlis and I will be presenting our research project on the case of Victor Lai's unexpected podium placement in the 2025 World Championships, where we will be analyzing how this may cause subsequent impact in changing Canada's badminton trajectory and world stage status. Our objectives today are to share our preliminary results in research, focusing on what made Victor Lai's performance special and why it's a big moment for Canada. I'd like to preface our presentation by disclaiming that Karlis and I do come from competitive badminton backgrounds, so our understanding of common knowledge may slightly differ to most people, which we make an effort to be aware of. So, who is Victor Lai and what happened? For context, Canada has little competitive badminton culture, with top players in Canada usually getting knocked out in the first round in international tournaments. As such, when Canadian badminton player Victor Lai defeated previous world champion Colloquium at the 2025 World Championships, it was a major upset for the world. This was heightened by the fact that Lai was unseeded and ranked 50th. Following the match, Victor Lai states, "I'm still shocked. I don't believe it. It's a big moment for Canada," underscoring the significance of this event. Current research explores Canada's funding of sports, media and sport popularity, but we aim to explore further by addressing the pathway from performance and media visibility to the sport's impact at grassroots level. And so we propose a research question. How does the breakout performance of Victor Lai's in the World Championship catalyze changes in badminton's popularity and visibility in Canada? We approach this question through three main components, where we largely use visual analysis of the event, archival research of news documenting the event, and social media posts reflective of the genuine reactions of the badminton community as a response. The parts are as follows. A. How Victor Lai's performance can improve badminton visibility in Canada. B. The potential influence on the sport at grassroots level and funding. C. How this event can improve Canada's international reputation. Starting with Part A, how Victor Lai's performance can improve badminton visibility in Canada. We conducted archival research where we found little information was done on the state of badminton in Canada, and a general lack of coverage of badminton within Canada in terms of designated news outlets and channels. Globally, the Badminton World Federation largely highlights the top players, and so Canada is often overshadowed and not mentioned. For perspective, our top players are ranked 15th and 33rd, respectively. Looking at Victor Lai's results, beating the previous world champion in 2 straight sets and almost defeating the current world number 1, Xu Qi, losing only by 5 points, he became one of the first badminton players in Canada to ever make headlines, not only within Canada but also internationally. The surplus of attention towards a Canadian player instantly raised national morale and interest as Canadians were inclined to tune in. Lai's success continued as he won the Pan Am Championships, making Lai one of the top of North America. So what does this mean? Canada finally has an active player that is performing well internationally and featured in significant interviews. His popularity is reflected in how he amassed over 15,000 followers on Instagram. Moreover, as a part-time university student, Lai now serves as a Canadian role model and inspiration for competitive youth, showing that both university and badminton at high levels can be achieved simultaneously. To visualize this impact, Badminton Canada estimates that approximately 2 million people play badminton regularly on an annual basis, including primary, secondary, university, and college students, and only roughly 10,000 players compete in sanctioned national, provincial, and territorial events. We conducted calculations using this information to find that only 0.5% of players are competing competitively, showing disparity in badminton participation and those actively competing. And about only 4.84% of Canadians play the sport at all. As such, we are inclined to conclude that Canada is a very minor player in light of the more than quote-unquote more than 220 million worldwide that play the sport weekly, stated by Badminton Canada. Moreover, despite badminton being the second most participated sport in the world, participation numbers in Canada reveal it holds little presence nationally. This makes Victor Lai's unexpected podium placement all the more relevant and impactful, as he went against the odds and rose to rival the best of the world. I will now hand this off to my partner Karlis for Part B and C.
Moving on to Part B, could an increased visibility of badminton influence participation at the grassroots level, and how could this lead to greater funding opportunities? We can further analyze the possible impact by starting with background information regarding the current state of badminton in Canada. As Malina mentioned, despite millions of people playing the sport yearly on a casual basis, the governing body of badminton in Ontario, the highest populated province in Canada, has only 26 registered competitive clubs, while British Columbia's governing body has only 7 clubs listed as premier. There is less of a lack of people to play the sport, however, there are a lack of adequate training environments for grassroots players. Only a few months ago was the first time a state-of-the-art badminton facility was opened in Canada, not far from us in Surrey, BC. With increased access to such state-of-the-art facilities, participation at the grassroots level can grow vastly. On the background of funding in Canadian badminton, it is almost sad to think about. The attached photo on the right of this slide shows the amount of funding Canada received for the last 3 Olympics as part of the Own the Podium initiative, designed to increase funding in sports which are more likely to place on the podium at the Olympics. Despite us sending the same amount of people for the 2016 Rio Games of archery received $235,000, while badminton received $0. The photo attached on the bottom of the PowerPoint is the funding which Badminton Canada received as part of a national sports funding scheme to increase sports participation rates among BIPOC and marginalized communities. However, badminton was in the bottom 10. At that point, you may wonder how Olympic badminton players get funded. The answer is GoFundMe pages. Even the national governing body of badminton, Badminton Canada itself, utilizes crowdfunding to assist their members and coaches to represent the country abroad. Now that the current situation of badminton in Canada is understood, the question becomes, does Victor Lai's increased visibility actually help increase participation or funding opportunities? To properly answer this, it's important to consider 4 key parts. Firstly, that investment into accessible sports infrastructure is likely to encourage grassroots sports development. Second, funding elite players only does not build grassroots participation. Third, countries like India, which invest millions into their grassroots level of badminton, see long-term growth. Lastly, creating a culture where competitive players are encouraged to perform without thinking how they can make ends meet. An example being Singapore, where corporate funders support national team players financially. If Lai's breakout performance can prove the ability of achieving a medal at the Olympics, funding would likely be increased through government initiatives like Own the Podium, along with private sponsorships similar to what Singaporean athletes have. However, long-term success depends on the government's ability to adopt a holistic plan to grow badminton at the grassroots and support the players representing our country abroad. Without government assistance, Victor Lai's performance will be only an inspiration and not a transformation of Canadian badminton. In Part C, we cover how the international community reacted to Victor Lai's performance and what this means for Canada's global status in the sport. The reactions were both negative, such as this one, where a passionate badminton fan expresses his dissatisfaction of a liked player losing to rank 50. In a more positive manner, however, Victor Lai was recognized on not only international platforms like the Badminton World Federation and the Olympics websites, but also regional media like CBC. And most importantly, leaders in Asian media, like the South China Morning Post from Hong Kong and the Straits Times from Singapore. Both places where badminton is a staple. The significance of being featured by news sources in areas where badminton is most competitive is a game changer, with Canada now being seen almost as an equal competitor and shows we are now relevant in the badminton world. Moments like these are comparable to Carolina Marin, a Spanish badminton player who single-handedly won gold medal in women's singles at the Olympics and elevated Spain's position as a relevant competitor to those of countries around Asia. Coming from a country where medals in the Olympics are primarily won by swimming, athletics, and winter sports, Victor Lai's performance signals a hope for badminton to be on that list with an international reputation to be reckoned with. To conclude our presentation, our preliminary findings suggested that Victor Lai's breakout performance has strong potential in promoting badminton in Canada in terms of visibility, participation, and global perception. We urge this research to be continued by considering the sustainability in newfound developments and finding potential solutions to greater support our existing players. With our research, we believe that Victor Lai created a catalyst event opening a multitude of opportunities for future players and badminton culture in Canada. However, ultimately, it is up to the government, donors, and society as a whole to continue the initial positive momentum and make this something truly long-lasting that will benefit countless aspiring badminton players and enthusiasts alike. Thank you. And here are our sources.